fellas, let's go. Here we go. Big play. Trips open right, 334 stretch, Z post, X stop, on two. Ready?
This is my dad's show.
It's called the Quarterback Dadcast.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Jaycox with the Quarterback Dadcast. I want to say thanks to all of our listeners, thanks to all of our sponsors for all your support. We are continuing to enjoy this journey together, inspiring dads, but I want to take a minute now to talk about Acme Homes. You've heard me talk about them before, but I'm going to talk about them again. Bob Cumming, former college teammate, amazing leader, amazing home builder. They continue to take so much pride in the work they do, the craftsmanship, the attention to detail. Whether you're looking for a home up in Monroe, up in Sultan, up in Wenatchee, this is where they're doing their amazing things. So many people during the pandemic, as we have the ability to work from home, have decided to move out of the city to try to find homes where there's more acreage. Well, that's exactly what Bob and team at Acme Homes give you. So check out Valley Vista up in Monroe. Check out Daisy Meadows out in Sultan. And if you want to even go to Eastern Washington, check out Sienna Heights in Wenatchee. They're, again, amazing craftsmanship, amazing floor plans. You can visit them at acmehomeswa.com. And if you're interested in learning specifically about listings or mortgage opportunities, contact Jen at 425-308-8082 or Denise at 425-309-2318. So now, why are we doing a new ad? Because we want to talk about a partnership they have with Portage Bank. Kevin Jensen is one of the great lenders over there. He's the senior vice president. He's going to take care of you. And right now, if you obtain a mortgage through Portage Bank, Bob and team at Acme Homes are going to pay your $500 appraisal fee. I said that right. They're going to pay your $500 appraisal fee by buying a home through them, getting your mortgage through the folks at Portage Bank. So don't wait. Now's the time to contact Jen, contact Denise. Again, Jen's number is 425-308-8082. And again, Denise is at 425-309-2318. Visit acmehomeswa.com right now. Don't wait. Thank you again for listening to the Quarterback Dadcast. So with that, let's get right to today's episode. Well, hey everybody, it's Casey Jaycox for the Quarterback Dadcast. And today's a special day. We are going straight Uncle Rico. We're going straight memory lane. I get to talk to a brother from Central Washington University, the Harvard of the West Coast, a gentleman I played football with, a guy that I would not want to play against because he was a beast on the defensive line. This guy brought energy. He brought so much joy to our team, but that's not why we're having him on. We're going to have this gentleman by the name of Mike Talamaivao on to learn about Mike the dad. We're going to learn about how Mike was raised, how Mike grew up, and how Mike made it to Central Washington. But more importantly, we're going to learn how Mike's working to become the ultimate quarterback or leader of his home. So with that, Mikey T, welcome to the Quarterback Dadcast, brother.
Thanks, Casey. Thanks for having me, man. That's such a big introduction. I feel special. Thanks, brother.
Well, you bet, buddy. Well, I know there's all the Wildcats, because we will make sure this episode is tagged in the Alumni Network. I know there's some Wildcats that are smiling once they heard your voice, which always brings a smile to my voice, my mind. So, okay. So in true QB Dadcast fashion, we always start each episode with, what are you most grateful for as a dad today?
Time. I think that's, given this pandemic, I believe that we've been giving some time back. We've been so busy chasing after, just busy of life. And I've been so blessed to be able to work from home and still love in my community, still serve my community, but in a different capacity from home. So, I'm here to help my kids transition to school. Even the first year of the pandemic, I was the teacher. We kept them from school, and then we did homeschool for a year. So I believe I'm so thankful for this thing called time, because it's so precious as dads, as moms, as parents, as family, because time is it's not always given to us, but when we get that time, that's very privileged, and I'm so blessed to have that. I'm thankful for time.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer, man. Similar, I'm going to go on that similar wavelength. I'm grateful for self-awareness, which is something I am been working on a lot, and specifically around a phrase called me noticing a difference. So like me noticing a difference when I'm my best version of myself or my not best version of myself. And so just trying to realize when I'm not my best version of myself, how do I stop that, quickly get back to center and say, listen, dude, chill out. Because we're all flawed humans. We're all on the verge of not being the best version of ourselves. But I think the key is when we can notice that and then quickly change and realize that we choose a lot of the emotions or the route we're going to go through a conversation, our day. And so for me, I've just really been working hard on that. And so I'm grateful for that mindset because, God love my dad, but like sometimes my dad he'd lose it sometimes. And as kids, and, he would go, he could drop some amazing GD bombs, and I would start laughing. I start laughing when he would do it, but I'm just trying to, I'm definitely far from perfect, but just grateful for self-awareness to remind me of what's important.
Yeah.
So, okay. So tell me, our audience, what does life look like right now in the Mike T household? Who are the players? What are the roles?
So I've been married for 11 years, so going on the 12. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Carrie Talamaivao. She is from Michigan. She's a Saginaw, Michigan gal. We met at work, and then we have 3 beautiful daughters. Sophia is 9. Amelia is 8. And then my 3-year-old, who's going to be 4 pretty soon next month, is Estelle Say Oriana. And so she is the firecracker of the family. She's the caboose and the energy behind the Talamaivao family. So it's a busy, we're talking about, I got 2 girls who are in soccer. My 2 oldest are in soccer. My youngest is in gymnastics. And so our schedule, we literally have to have a big schedule calendar in our kitchen so that we can know where everybody's going. and of course, I'm coaching soccer, so thank God for YouTube because I've been learning. I've never played soccer before, but thank God for YouTube because they really helped me learn how to coach the 7-year-olds and the 9-year-olds. So I'm a soccer dad now.
There we go.
Brother, I just don't have the minivan. And when me and my wife met, when we decided we're gonna have kids, her and I, the one thing I loved about her, she goes, babe, we will never have a minivan. I said, you are it. Can you marry me now? So
love it. Some of those vans, man, don't be careful. There's some nice vans out there.
Oh my
bro.
gosh. Yeah, we've rented some when we were in Hawaii. One of our friends let us borrow this Odyssey, the Honda Odyssey. The getting in and out was I was like, okay, all right. I see why people like these minivans, automatic, right. Opens up both doors. It's awesome. Yeah.
Love
but
it.
Not for me. Sorry.
Love it. And tell us what you're doing. Because you transitioned from football coaching, and then you moved into, I think, being a counselor. Do I have that correct?
No, yeah,
or social worker.
So I've been when I graduated in '98 from Central, I moved straight to Hawaii. And I was in Hawaii from '98 to almost 2008, so almost 10 years. And there, I got I was working. I got a state job as a social worker, and that's where my social worker career started. And that was my major at Central, was criminal justice and sociology. And so, and then from there, I was helping out a lot of the high school teams, be a consultant for a lot of the high school teams there in Hawaii. But it wasn't until I moved back in 2008 is when one of our Davis Laura
franchise
franchise was I was walking. Casey, I was walking out of the airport coming home in 2008, and I get a phone call, and I look, it's Davis's phone number. He's calling me. He knew I was coming home, but he just didn't know when it was. But I was walking out of the airport. He calls me. He goes, T, I'm getting the head coach at West Seattle. I would love to have you be part of my staff. I said, Davis, who else is coming? And he goes, can I give you Scott Morgan, another, Central grad? I was like, I'm in. So 2008, I was at West Seattle. for about 3 or 4 years, and then I moved over to Thomas Jefferson. That's when I became the head coach later on at Thomas Jefferson after 10 years.
Go Raiders.
Yes, and now I'm transitioned. So I stepped down in 2018 as the head coach, just because we are so busy with our girls, and my girls were into sports. Obviously, they took Dad's athletic juice, the blood, and so and now I love the time that I have with my girls because I'm coaching them in basketball and in soccer.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Well, I want to dive into that in a second because I think that's a key. When you and I had lunch, a few months ago, you told me about that story. I think that's a story that is a powerful one of when you decided to step down, because I think a lot of people who coach football don't make that decision. They keep going. And so, but I want to kind of tease the audience a little bit. But before that, I want to rewind and just hear about life when you grew up. Maybe talk about what that was like. Talk about how your parents impacted you. And how that experience impacted you as a father.
Well, I grew up, I was born in Samoa. And so we both, my parents were both educators in American Samoa. And so, and when my dad was trying to bring the curriculum, the so called American curriculum, to the Department of Education in American Samoa, they shot him down. And so my dad already foresaw the future, and he's like, "I'm taking my family to Seattle, where a lot of my cousins were living here already." So we moved here in about 1987 is when we got here. I believe I was in the sixth grade when I moved here, and then from then on, we lived in West Seattle. Actually, we started out in the hood. Let me take that back. I grew up in the hood. We were in Holly Park. I mean, Holly Park don't even exist anymore in Seattle. It's in the Rainier area. And then after a year living in Rainier Park with my cousins, we were able to get a place in West Seattle. And that's how I ended up at Chief Sealth High School, where I was an all-state linebacker and also a good baseball player there. And so, and then from there, I decided I wanted to extend. I wanted to play ball somewhere else. And so there was a few schools that offered, Montana State, Idaho State. I took a ride to all those, and when I took I flew out there, and it was just like, no, this is not for me. No, I can't do it. So I wanted also to play. I wanted my parents to travel to come see me. So I didn't want them to pay flights to fly to come see me. So Central offered, and I was accepted there, and that's how I ended up at Central Washington. And I'm so glad. I am so glad I did. I just have learned so much, just in life, and the brotherhood that we have is so. I mean, I'm telling you, a lot of the brothers that we played for 4 or 5 years, I can literally pick up the phone and they will do anything for me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how deep the roots are at Central Washington, especially the football brother. The brotherhood is so deep. And so, in fact, Scott Morgan and I just saw him on Saturday. They had a big loss, and he says, "Can you come? I need somebody to talk with." And I said, "You know what? It's 11 o'clock at night. I'll come help you out, man." So
No, that's
I was at
cool.
his house, just shooting the breeze, just to encourage him. It's like, just continue to, because he's still coaching at Thomas Jefferson. So.
Wow. Scotty Morgan, another beast on the defensive side of the ball. I'm glad he was on our team, not going against him. Talk about, so I don't know if you ever remember, but Jack Thompson, the throwing Samoan from Wazoo, I had him on my show, and it was amazing to be able to talk to him. And talk about, he had some interesting stories about, like, his dad and how strict, and just I don't know if it was a Samoan culture, but talk to me about, like, what it was like growing up in Samoa, and then maybe the differences between growing up in Samoa than growing up in the United States.
Well, in Samoa, it's all about faith. It's about family, and it's about really the culture there. And so, and the one thing about our culture is very rich. It's rich in discipline. It's rich in accountability. It's rich in, just um, uh, just learn how to love your neighbor. And with what we're dealing with, in this time of life, life. We need those things. We need the culture. We need to, what is our culture, and we need to
Hmm.
have some faith, faith in each other, faith in the human race again. And I feel like, in Samoa, I always tell my kids, it's like, Dad, I never knew what Santa Claus was.
Hmm.
I never knew what it was like to get gifts on, like my mom always told, my kids, like, your dad made his own gifts. I mean, your dad, because we learned how to live off the land. We learned how to eat off the land, and so for us growing up in Samoa, we're doing our chores even before we went to school. We did a lot of our chores before we went to school, and unfortunately, when I grew up, education wasn't really a big thing in Samoa. It was just it was part of life, but it wasn't the main focus when I was growing up. So, but I thank God for my parents, because they were educators. They knew what the importance of education was, and so they harped on that. And so for us to move to the United States, and it was a shock when we moved here.
Sure.
Uh, I mean, talk about, I got I got Johnny over here talking back to the teacher, and I was like, oh my Lord. In Samoa, in Samoa, if you talk back to the teacher, it was almost like a taboo. It's like, not only you get, because we got slapped in school, like we got spanking in school by our teachers, and that was okay back then. you know, that was okay. And oh my gosh, I have to tell this story. One time, my mom was my teacher, and I embarrassed her because I totally forgot I can't believe I still remember the story. I, I forgot my three times. I was in the second grade. I forgot my three times table, like the threes, three times
Yep.
one, three times. So I stood up in class and I totally missed like maybe three or four of them. And my mom looked at me. She goes, "All right, get that." So she made me. She slapped my mouth in front of the whole class. And it's funny. A lot of my classmates, they still remember that story, and I don't know why. And then and then I come to the United States, and I come to Seattle, and I'm sitting in the class, and Miss S was my first teacher here,
Hmm.
and the one kid was just going off on Miss S, and I was like, is Miss S gonna do something? Or I gotta do something. I feel like I gotta do something because it's like it was so disrespectful. So, part of our culture is that we always respect our elders. We
Hmm.
always it's always about the respect,
Yeah.
and so yeah.
I love that. Tell me, where did the love of education from your parents come from?
Well, both of my parents both went to school, and
Okay.
they went to college. My dad got his master's from University of Hawaii, and he also finished his PhD. Actually, let me take this back. He went to Buffalo, New York, so he was there for 4 years. Um, he didn't play any sports. He played a little bit of basketball, but he was more of an educator. He loved school. So I mean, just imagine back in the 50s, where my dad coming from the island and going to New York. That's where he got a full ride for 4 years. So he
Wow.
was he was in New York. I mean, a Samoan boy who just 18 years old in New York for 4 years. So he went Buffalo, New York. So he was there for 4 years, and then he got his PhD in University of Hawaii. And then when he came back to Samoa, the reason why he came back to Samoa, because he could have just stayed in Hawaii and got a job. But one thing that my dad had a love for was educating his people. Same thing with my mom. My mom was a teacher there in Samoa, and so both of them love education. They wanted to teach, have a better future for the future generations. But a lot of the time, when you bring in new ideas to the Samoan people, sometimes it's almost like, well, we don't want to be those people. We want to just hold on to our ways of doing things. And that's where my dad was very saddened, because, he had your education. He had the uh, ideas to further, because what happened in Samoa is, when you have a kid who got a full ride from Samoa and then came to college here, they struggled in, in,
Mm.
in school. So they only lasted for 1 or 2 years in college, because the education was so behind. So let's say you got a kid who is in the ninth grade here in, let's say here in Seattle. Well, the kids, they're only learning ninth grade year stuff until like their senior year. So they're 3 years, 2 years behind on a lot of the curriculum there in American Samoa. And so my dad was trying to change that, but they weren't going for it because they really, that's the downfall for my people is they care more about the elders, which is great, but you're talking about future generation. How do we prepare the future generation to take care of our island, to take care of our part of our nation? So
Kind of so when we're like that, dealing with change and evolving, kind of what you're talking about.
yes, and when we with our people, it's hard to accept change. It's hard to accept outside assistance or outside help. It's that pride that sometimes can stumble growth
Yeah.
in any nation or in any
Any
economy,
culture. Sure.
in any culture for
Right.
that. And it's hard because what happens is when people bring change, that means they're going to have to do some work. There's work that comes with change, and change can be painful at times, but at the end of it, you're going to see that there's purpose. There's also growth, and there's also I really believe that sometimes, just like anything else, brother, it's like change is hard for anybody.
Hmm.
But
I was
if you
just,
want to make, go ahead.
I was going to say this phrase came to me years ago. Said we either deal with change or we get dealt by it.
There you go.
You
That's
know,
so true.
and you have to. It's kind of like that. Maybe that's like Uncle Rico moment. We're going to go Uncle Rico out of the gate. But like if I call doubles right, 91 B flat, right, and they got pressure coming off. Okay, I got one less blocker. That's
Yeah.
change. What do I do? Do I
Yeah.
just go and do the play and then get crushed and then blame my lineman? No, that's my fault. I
No.
should have known we have one less blocker coming in with six guys, only five blocking. That's on me.
Yeah.
Right. And so like
But
that
that's
whole,
but that whole, even let's use that scenario. It's just like, but you had to foresee there's certain things that you can kind of like forecast or can see. And so if
anticipate.
you don't make any changes
Mhm.
to make that change, make that adjustment, you know what I'm saying? If you decide, well, this is the play I'm going to go with, I don't care what the defense is going to do. No,
Mhm.
you gotta, in the midst of craziness and chaos, sometimes you have to make some adjustments during time of change. So
No, totally. Are mom and dad still with us?
yes, mom and dad are still alive.
Awesome.
I just had they live in Auburn. They retired about 5 years ago, and then they moved to Arizona. They were in Prescott Valley for a couple of years, and they decided we missed the grandkids. So they have 9 grandkids altogether. So they moved back. They stayed with me for a couple months, and so that was a treat for my kids. That was a treat for my girls, and just having Papa and Grandma at the house. And so now they own the little Rambler there in Auburn, not
Cool.
not far from Auburn High School.
Oh, very cool. My mom actually is similar. She was in Arizona, Surprise. It's called Surprise, Arizona, which is west of Phoenix. She
Yeah,
was there for 20 years, and they just moved back to Eastern Washington now to be closer to see grandkids. That my stepdad's kids live in Seattle, so like watch them play sports and our kids
yeah,
play sports. So,
that's
um,
awesome.
okay, so talk about I'd like to like explore like just really quick about your decision to walk away from football, because I think there's a lot. Hopefully, there's some coaches out there, and I think coaches and teachers. Hats off to you. I think it's amazing. There's so many teachers who have massively impacted me, even collegiately. But sometimes that is no joke of a job, and there's times where you got to like really look in the mirror and say, for me, for my family, maybe it's time to say, hey, now's the time, and family is more important. And I think you did that. I'd love to maybe just share that story, because I think it's pretty inspiring. At least I left when you told me that story. It was inspiring, and I think it can really help a lot of people out there listening today.
Well, it goes back to when my wife and I were dating. She knew that my passion was coaching. She knew that that was. I've always wanted to be a head coach later on in life, and I didn't know the opportunity was going to present itself very quickly in 2017. Because I've been coaching for almost 20 years, and I've never wanted to aspire to be like that was like further down the line when I'm like 60. I'll be a head coach but I got the opportunity. But I'm telling you, I kind of knew what came with being a head coach. Um, but I didn't know how much it was because I'm such a competitive, that's my nature. I'm such a
Mhm.
competitor that I didn't want to, I was Mr. Perfection. I needed to spend time, to make sure all the special team, I mean, it's just every phases. Maybe it was a control thing for me, but it took a lot of time away from my family, especially doing, when I was the head coach, because there's a lot of layers when it comes to. It's not just being a head coach. It's about making sure all your students, the 100 students that you're coaching, you're accountable for them while they're under your so-called supervision. And so as not just doing football, it's throughout the whole year, and
Mhm.
also, and then also trying to, create a program, a winning program, and trying to create an atmosphere of winning, because TJ was Thomas Jefferson High School was never known to be an elite football program. When Scott Morgan and I and Coach Dean took over, that was the first 2 years we were there. We went to the playoffs for the very first time at Thomas Jefferson, and
Wow.
that was, yeah. And so from then we begin to see what winning does to a program, and because it attracts kids, it attracts, media, it attracts. And so we had a good run for close to 6 7 years where we were very competitive because they knew when Thomas Jefferson was coming into town, you better, buckle up. It's going to be a good ride. We're not just going to sit there and be the OTJ where, and I wanted to carry that on, but it took a toll in my marriage. It took a toll in my family time. It took a toll, like even when I was home, I wasn't present. My whole mentality was about, hey, what are we going to do on Friday night? What is, what scheme that's going to help us, get further into the, either to the playoffs or try to, it was just, my mind wasn't here. I wasn't present. And that's why I love what you asked me at the beginning. What is the most important thing, or what are you thankful for? And for me, it was that time.
Mhm.
And now that I have 2 years away from football and I'm with my girls, man, I'm telling you, it's been a blessing. And to be honest with you, I almost lost my family because my wife finally sat me down. She's like, "Hun, it's either me or the kids, or you can go marry football." And I try to what's the word I'm looking for? I try to justify it. I said, "You married me when I was a coach. You knew this is my passion." But then the one thing that she spoke, I love my wife, man. She said, she goes, "Hun, but time has changed. We have 3 kids. I'm a single mom. This is not what I agreed to.
Mhm.
You know, I don't mind you go coaching, but when you're the head coach, every focus is about football." And I had to choose. I mean, in fact, we got counseling
Yeah.
from our pastor, Pastor Paul, in our church, Paul Hooks, and we had 4 or 5 weeks of counseling, because I wanted to make sure that my decision, because every decision I made was going to affect a lot of people. And so I finally made my decision. I choose my family, and that was probably one of the best decision I ever made. And it's funny. Another alumni, coach, Coach Aaron Mall. We just talked about 2 weeks ago. Aaron played linebacker, with us, and he's the head coach at Seattle Prep. And him and I were just talking about this whole thing about football and family. He goes, "Isn't it amazing that we're willing to, let our family down just so that we don't let the our football players or our coaching staff. It's easier for us to say, babe, I'll be back, than letting the football team down." It's but you got to find balance to that. You got to find some kind of balance to that. And so I felt, when I talked to Coach Maul about that, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, it's so true. It's so much easier for us to say, hey, babe, I gotta go. I'll be back. I can try to catch up. I'll do this and this, whatever." But I'm telling you, it was the best decision for me to step down. And it doesn't mean that I'm never going to go back to coaching football. It just means
Hmm.
that my career as a coach, as a football coach, is at a pause. I think and now I see the difference in my kids. I see in my girls. They're seeing their dad on the sideline because I wasn't on the sideline when they were playing. So to be on the sideline with them and coaching them and cheering them on, and so they get a little bit of a Coach T. They coach that one day. Oh my gosh! I think last week we were playing the other team. I forgot that I'm coaching 9-year-olds, and I said I have to put the mindsets like these are 9-year-olds, Coach T. These are 9-year-olds. These are not 14, 15, 16-year-old young men.
Right. Well, I love that story, man. And I love the vulnerability you're willing to share because that's what when I started this podcast, almost 2 years ago, which is still hard to believe I said that out loud. And a huge shout out to Ty Nunez, our former brother, teammate at Central. I mean, he's one of the biggest reason this thing got off the ground. Is just like kind of getting my girls said, bro, let's start this thing. And hey everybody, it's Casey Jaycox. I want to take a quick break to talk about my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafoods who continue to be just an amazing loyal sponsor. And for those of you who've tried it, thank you. For those of you who haven't, you're missing out. And now's the time to make sure that you visit catchsitkaseafoods.com and get some of those amazing smoked salmon. Get some of that amazing rockfish, blackfish, black cod, salmon, whatever it might be, whatever you like. But what's great about opportunities they have, now's the time to subscribe to a box so that you're going to get that reliable cadence of the best fish directly from the dock to the doorstep. And what's great about Catch Sitka Seafoods, they make it so easy. So those that maybe aren't the best chefs at home, doesn't matter. They're going to give you this beautiful, nice laminated recipe card that tells you exactly how long to cook it, whether you're going to barbecue, you're going to bake, you're going to fry, whatever the way you want to do it, they're going to make it easy. So please visit them today, catchsitkaseafoods.com. Sign up for a subscription so that you know you're going to get the best fish delivered directly to your door. You won't regret it. And just like my daughter Riley says, Dad, I don't even like fish. And she does now because of my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafood. So with that, let's get right back to today's episode. I always will be in debt to Ty for that support. But I think you said so many things are important, man. It's about, and you don't have to be a football coach to relate to what you just talked about. Like there's dads who are like get consumed in their work. There's dads that can get consumed in what's, all these things that we think are important. And I always, like in my business, my world, I do coaching for executives and sales teams. We think we're that important in life, but we're not. Because if I dial 911, Mike, your phone doesn't ring and my phone doesn't ring, right? So it's kind of like a sarcastic metaphor, but in the end, we only get that so much time. And I love that you're so focused on the word time because you will not regret this. And I think, we look at like a guy like Coach Sawyer, Ryan Sawyer, former teammate. He left Eastern Washington, same reason. And there's some people that it works great, awesome. But for those that don't, I hats off to you for doing what's best for you and your family. And I know that so many people respect it because in the end, it's family first, man. And
Yes.
So I think I love that you shared it. I hope that story inspires dads at home because I know it's definitely inspired me. And shout out to Pastor Paul for giving you guys the love and support too.
Yeah, and the one thing about that also is when you're willing to be humble. And you have to learn how to be vulnerable and be humble at the same time because that's how that we always talk about change, but those are some of the keys on how we can kind of grow in life is when we have to learn to be humble and learn to understand that you know what, I don't know it all. But when you get to a point where humility is part of your character, I'm telling you, you'll be able to grow as a human being. I believe that so much.
Yeah, no, you just described my equation for leadership or relationship building, which is humility plus vulnerability equals leadership or equals relationship.
That's
right?
awesome.
Willing to listen, willing to say I don't know. Three words that some dads, we don't like to say I'm sorry. We don't like to ask for directions. We don't like to ask for help.
Yeah.
But when we can realize that's exactly what you said, we don't have it all figured out. There's like for me, I'm the worst handyman in United States history. Like in my tool belt, I got a Crayola, scissors,
my toolbox with my kids. It's like I have tools. They just take my tools and replace it with pencils, Crayolas, and glue.
There we go. There we go. So you
Uh,
transitioned. So now you're a social worker, you're hands-on dad, you're coaching. Talk about the hardest part of being a social worker and the work you do in that space, and then kind of leaving that aside and then focusing on dad life.
yeah, and it's even harder now that I'm working from home because I love the drive home because you can compress, you can leave work at work. But now that I'm working from home, it's like everything it just seems, it's just one pot of, uh, it just all meshed together, work, home, and so there's no separation. So, thank God for, Saturday afternoons where I can go hit, after work, I can go hit, a golf ball, just to get away from home. And thank God for my wife who's just, hon, go play golf, get away from home. But the hardest thing, I believe, also, not just with the work and life and everything being meshed together, it's also this pandemic has really created a lot of difficulty with my job because now we have the government who are mandating certain individuals to take the vaccine, and of course I have about 86 to 90 clients, and the hard thing about this is some of them don't believe in the vaccine, and we just got mandated back in September the 7th to go into these homes and do these home visits and see face to face with my clients, because before we couldn't go to the homes, we were shut down and working from home, but now they're allowing us to go, which is another issue because we got people who are not vaccinated. So I'm vaccinated. I'm proud to say I'm vaccinated, and so
Mm-hmm.
for me to go to an unvaccinated home, it's a danger for that person and danger for me.
Yeah.
And so that's another issue that we're trying to get through, because COVID just put a lot of different twist to my job, specifically my job with working with the community. And right now, given that I have 80%, 90% Samoan, because that's who I work for, is my Samoan community. I work as a Samoan social worker for Pierce County Human Services. And so for me to be able to serve our community, they also have the battle between, well, I don't believe in the vaccine. And so that's one of the issues at least I'm dealing with my people and trying to educate them. This, goes back to educating the people,
Yeah.
because everybody has different beliefs, everybody has different views, and so my part is just to be not subjective but objective and educate our people on the vaccines. So
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to this. If you'd have told me we'd still be dealing with this 20 months ago, I'd be like, "What? How is possible?" And there's like one more thing after the other. I think we're through it, and then obviously we got more mandates yesterday with indoor sports, and obviously we're recording on October 6th when this episode comes out. It's going to be in November, so hopefully by then, Mikey, we're dealing with some more positivity, and we can all come together and listen to learn versus listen to persuade, and just try to help people get through this. And okay, so I want to transition now and talk about life as a dad of an area that you're working to become a better leader. So we as dads, I wish we were all perfect. We're not. My dad gap is patience. I even found it kind of this morning of all things. I found myself like, I got great kids, but they were getting a little chippy at each other. And, my son was a little late. And so I found myself getting like, time is like being on time is important to me. And I had to like take a deep breath and instead of raising my voice, calmly say, "Hey, brother, sister, we don't talk to each other that way. Your teammates respect each other. I don't care. I don't allow that stuff in our house." But I felt my patience. So maybe for you, talk about what is one of your dad gaps that you're being self-aware, you're trying to be working on hard to become that ultimate quarterback of your household.
I think for me, the dad gap for me is trying to be the perfect dad. always trying to um, make sure that everything's perfect. And you know, I guess my gap really is always trying to make sure we look a certain type when we go out into the community. We try, trying to be the perfect family, which that's never happened. We all have stuff that we all have failures. We all
Yep.
have stuff, skeletons. And I think that's my gap. I think another gap that I have too is my wife's like, babe, I love your personality, but you're so laid back. And so my gap is just like trying to be the island boy, but then also have the sense of urgency to try to balance those things. Because it's like I just sometimes I go by how the wind goes. Thank God my wife knows how to do schedules in my household, because if it wasn't my wife, we would be just doing everything and trying to do everything. And I think one the other the other gap I have, brother, is I say yes a lot, and that is like gathering with people. And it's like my wife's like, wait, what? When did you tell them we're gonna hang out? I said, well, I just thought we were. And she goes, hun, we have a schedule. We have a schedule. We have a schedule. It's like, you don't have to say yes. And I feel like as these last 2 years, I've learned to say no, and that's something that I'm trying to work on. It's just saying no to people, because what I value most in the last couple months is finding people to build roots with, relationship that matters. Building relationship with parents that are going the same direction as you. Because before it was just like, Mr. Mike Talamaivao, always like, hey, Mr. Party all the time, is always being the island boy. But there's a time, that's what I'm trying to work on, is finding relationship that to grow roots with, because you want to make sure that the people you build with are going the same directions as you. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, 100% does. Well, man, you hit a chord, because my wife taught me that same lesson your wife's teaching you about the power of sometimes saying no. And I think it goes back to expectation management. And in my mind, like our mind, we don't want to say no because we feel like we're letting our team down. But like you actually do it more worse when you overcommit, and then you have to then go back and say, "Oh, sorry, I can't go," versus just setting expectations up front.
Yeah.
There's a great book called Essentialism by a guy named Greg McCown, who talks about kind of the power of no. And um, it's kind of counterintuitive to what you might think, because it's like, but I think it's so true. It gives yourself freedom. You focus on, I think people respect it more when we can say no, but it's not always easy to do, because it's that, fear of missing out mantra for us as humans.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we get into some fun lightning round stuff, which is when I go completely random and ask anything on top of my head, I want to talk about like if you think about two of the most impactful lessons your parents taught you that you are now instilling into your girls. Tell me what comes to mind.
Number one is honor. Honor and respect. Those are the two main thing, that is honoring those who have come alongside you and helped you get further in life, and then respecting those who have given you life or has helped you through our lives. So it's always about honor and respect. Those are some of the things, and then also learn to forgive. Those are
Mm.
honor and respect are the same thing, pretty much the same thing. But those are the two things: honor, respect, and learn to forgive. To quickly forgive. We live in such a society that, man, it's we're always so quick to blame the other side, or blame the other person, or blame the culture, but we're never so quick to apologize. We're never so quick to forgive, because that's not what we're made of. That's not a it's not a human nature to be quick to forgive. and,
Mhm.
and I believe that when we are so quick to forgive, it brings there's a peace that comes with that. And I'm teaching that to my kids, because they're so quick to judge each other, so quick to gripe at each other, and so just a quick side story. Yesterday, my two girls were at it, just like typical our kids, just going at it. And really the middle, Amelia, who's the second oldest, made my oldest cry. And that's really rare. So I'm in my office, I'm doing work. So I finally called them in the office. One was crying. I said, you guys really need a timeout. Go to your room. And then Amelia, when you're ready to forgive, you forgive your sister. I am not going to forgive my sister. So anyways, long story short, I'm waiting. Next thing I know, I hear a knock, and the knock was down is the Amelia knocking on Sophia's room. And she was telling Sophia, I just want to ask you, will you please forgive me? Oh my gosh. To be honest with you, I cried because that was like one of those moments which is like, I feel like they're getting it. I feel like they're getting it, So it was so awesome. Yeah. So
that's great. Well, you, again, I hate to keep bringing up a book, but you made me think about this because the power of forgiveness is very, very hard for people sometimes. And I think it's again, back to human, we're flawed, but there's a book by Rich Case that's called Forgiveness, which is, he talks about forgiveness takes one, reconciliation takes two.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we forgive, it's not about being right. It's about like forgiving that negative energy out of our body so that we can become our best version of us. At least for me, that's how I kind of took it. And doesn't mean you have to be best friends with everybody, but
yeah.
But when we hold that negative energy around, it only impacts us, not the other person.
Yes.
And
I believe that so much. Yeah, I believe that forgiveness is not for the other person. It's really forgiveness is for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so because if they don't reciprocate that forgiveness, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. At least you release yourself from the situation that you're in when you ask for forgiveness, So.
No, I love that, man. Awesome, brother. This has been fun. It's now time to go into lightning round.
Lord.
Think 2-minute offense, where your job is to just answer answer as quick as you can. We're gonna try, I'm gonna go random on top of my head, whatever comes to mind.
Oh boy.
Ready?
All right. Here you go.
Tell me the funniest person you ever played football with at Central.
Oh my gosh. Cash Thomas.
Ooh.
Cash Thomas.
Okay. The hardest football game you ever played?
Western Washington.
Oh, Vikings. Much respect. Bring your program back, Western. We miss you guys. If you were to book a vacation right now, where are you going?
Bora Bora.
God, please, I'll go with you. It's on my list.
Come on, brother.
Yeah.
Let's take our wives.
Let's do it. Favorite golf course you've ever played?
Sonora. In Sonora.
Okay.
Sonoma in Arizona.
Okay.
Sonoma, it was oh my gosh, that was a beautiful in Sonoma. Yeah.
Lowest round of golf you've ever shot?
78.
Look at you. D lineman shooting 78. That's my guy.
Yeah.
If I went into your phone, what song am I going to hear last played?
Here I Am to Worship You.
There we go. Last book you read?
It would have to be the Bible.
Look at you. Love that. What is one daily habit we should know about you that you do every day?
I'm a meditator. I meditate. Yeah. Lots of time with the Lord.
Love that. Love how important faith is to you, bud.
Yes.
Favorite athletic achievement of Mike T's career in any sport?
I think it just, being a Hall of Fame with all the guys, you know, and from 1995, right? And I think that's probably one of the biggest accomplishment. And then I think second to that was probably doing a wedding for one of my players, marrying one of my players.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, if me and my wife ever redo our vows, I'll have you do the.
I'm down, brother. I'm down.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun. Okay. If they were to write a movie about your life, 2 questions. Tell me the name of the movie and who would star you.
It would be called Raising a King.
Like that.
Starting The Rock. Dwayne Johnson.
Yes. I love that. Well, brother,
you
you
know
made.
what? I gotta go. No, I'll just call Mario Lopez because he looks more like me. So he's gonna have to bulk up. So
Oh man. Well, I am so glad the lightning round's over. You made it through it. I'm so glad that we did this today. I hope that our friends and brothers at Central Washington have appreciated hearing a couple of former Wildcats talk. I know I have 2 pages of notes here. So much about we talked about you don't need to be perfect. Change is going to happen. Power of forgiveness, honesty, respect. Loving being present with your family, focusing on time. So much wisdom, Mike, that you shared. I appreciate it. And I want to take a minute to thank our sponsors, a former Central guy, Bob Cumming up at Acme Homes. He's been a great supporter of the Quarterback Dadcast, and then also Catch Sitka Seafoods. Man, anybody, if you like seafood, please give these guys a shot. They were dramatically impacted by COVID, and they're still competing and being resilient, catching the freshest fish from dock to door. So if you want, please give them a chance. Check them out at catchsitkaseafoods.com. But with that, I want to say, Mike, thank you so much for being a guest on today's episode, and keep being you, brother. We need more people like you in the world.
Thanks, Casey. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you, my brother.
All right, man.